Good morning. Our scripture lesson, our two lessons are found at the bottom of the page there if you want to follow along. And thank you to Bill Garrett, who does a nice job with the cover of the bulletins and put the first scripture lesson right there in the midst of a picture that looks like where I was walking in Spain. And of course, many places all of you have walked as well. Listen for the word of God from Jeremiah 6:16a. This is what the Lord says: stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. And this one from Galatians 6. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you may also be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks they are something when they're not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry their own load. Thanks be to God. How many of you have heard of the Camino? Just a few. Maybe some of you have seen the movie with Martin Sheen. It's about this walk that pilgrims have been making, otherwise called peregrinos in Spanish, across northern Spain for 1,000 years. This is a 500-mile trek, although it can be longer if you started in France or somewhere else and then connect to it. This walk takes you to Santiago de Compostela, which is considered a very holy city in Spain because the bones of Saint James, so James, the brother of John, were supposed to have been found somewhere and transported there, and they are to be found, to be seen in this enormous cathedral in Santiago de Compostela. So that's the end goal for many of the pilgrims, is to get there and get to that cathedral and go to a worship service there, and for many to see the bones. And some of them will continue to walk another couple of days to Finisterre, which is actually on the Atlantic Ocean and was considered the end of the world for many centuries, the last step before the ocean and nothing beyond. Now, a few friends that I've spoken with have said they had life-changing experiences while walking the Camino. So when my seminary roommate Carol asked me if I wanted to join her for a walk on the Camino this past July, I thought it over and decided I'm going to go for this. Carol and her husband Steve have walked the Camino piece by piece, 3 days at a time, over the last 9 years. Their daughter has been living in Spain for 10 years, so they took the time to walk little chunks of it. So I figured this would be easy. They'd be just dropping into their itinerary. They already know Spain, they know the way, they know how to get to the airport and back from Madrid, and all those things. This would be great. We would be hiking 5 days, an average of 14 miles a day. But for €3, we could send our backpacks ahead each day to the hostel where we were going to be. And I can tell you that's the best €3 I have ever spent. So just carrying a day pack, lest you think I'm really Superwoman or something. It sounded challenging, but doable. The plan was that Steve and his roommate from seminary were going to start at the beginning of the Camino and hike the entire 500 miles, beginning in June. And we would join them in the city of Sarria for the last 5 days into Santiago de Compostela. Carol told me a few things in advance, like you're supposed to think about your intention and your motivation for taking this kind of a journey, being a pilgrim on this Camino path. Did I want clarity about a life transition? Did I want to be closer to God? Did I want an adventure and a physical challenge? Why was I doing this? She told me to stock up on moleskin and other things to avoid and treat blisters. And she said the Camino journey is unique for everyone, and that what happens may surprise you, may frustrate you, but it is what's supposed to happen for you to have the Camino experience that is yours. Well, regarding motivation, I decided that in addition to making memories with Carol and experiencing an entirely new culture and brushing up on my Spanish and enjoying the simplicity of a trip that others had planned, my intention was to live more in the present moment, to feel closer to God somehow. And I hope that being slowed down with just being in another country like this, being away from to-do lists and email for 2 weeks would help me with that. Now, regarding Carol's second recommendation, I did bring a vast array of things to keep my feet happy. And I used them all, sometimes having as many as 8 different patches of moleskin and toe tube webbing on each foot. And it worked, no blisters. But the part about just going with the flow and dealing with the unexpected on my own unique Camino began well before the trip. And it reminded me of the importance of being in the present moment through the fallout of not having been attentive enough. So I was already experiencing what it was I was wanting to learn about the Camino. Carol and I were to fly together in mid-July from Philly to Madrid, and after 2 days there, take a train to Sarria to join Steve and Larry. Well, all good, except that I discovered I had not really looked at her flight information clearly enough, and I booked my flight 2 days ahead of hers. So that meant I would need to learn the metro system, figure out the hotel, try to get to some places I wanted to see, all before she arrived. It was an unexpected adventure and somewhat exhilarating, and that was just the beginning. Carol and I missed our nonstop train from Madrid to Sarria by 5 minutes because we were just enjoying our lunch at the train station and hadn't thought to double check the timing of the train. We thought we had a half an hour. We had -5 when we checked the board. So then we had to figure out how to communicate the problem we had created for ourselves. And we kept hearing, no more trains till tomorrow. Well, we knew that was not going to fly with Steve and Larry because we were supposed to be on the path with them at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And this was the afternoon. So we figured out somehow how to communicate the dilemma. And we ended up buying 3 new tickets, each of us, to sort of Chinese checker from this city to that city to that city to finally get to Sarria later that night than intended, but we got there. There was another booking glitch when, due to circumstances, I ended up booking 3 rooms for myself the last night in Madrid before we caught the plane the next day. 2 of them non-refundable, but I was able to get out of one of them. So you don't want me to be arranging your trips. But I am pretty good at getting out of jams. There was a time on the Camino when I was hiking by myself, actually a rare thing, and suddenly found myself at a fork in the road with no idea which way to go. The Camino is marked by an arrow and a large symbol called a flecha. That one here on the sweatshirt, it's a symbol of a scallop shell because of these scallop shells people would find in the Atlantic Ocean. But they'd also carry them along on the journey somehow, and then leave them in the church or somewhere signifying the end. I'm going to pass this little thing around because it shows you again the symbol. So this is what we were watching for along the way, and what I wasn't seeing at this fork in the road. So I went first one way, half a mile up the hill, didn't see a person, didn't see a flecha, decided better turn around. Then I walked the other way, another half a mile, didn't see a person, didn't see a flecha. So I came back and just pondered at the crossroads, so that's why I picked that Jeremiah thing. Just wondered, what the heck do I do? I've been seeing people all morning because that last 5 days was not the typical Camino experience. There were tons of people walking this thing, sometimes in groups of 50, or 75 in a youth group or something from. So that I was all by myself with 4 dogs that just showed up was kind of remarkable. I knew something was way wrong. So I decided to turn back and just go back to where I had last seen a sign or at least a person. And of course I went back a little ways. And there was a Fletcher sign, 90 degrees off in the other direction, which I completely missed because I was enjoying looking at the farmland. And a woman from Germany named Susanna assured me that, yes, that's the direction of Santiago de Compostela, not the other way, and all good. When I got to the place where my friends were waiting at a cafe, having had breakfast there, which is our thing, we would get up and leave usually at 6 in the morning and get breakfast after a couple of miles on the path. They stood up and cheered. They were about to call for a cab to go looking for me because they were worried. Then Santiago de Compostela, which on the map looked like a quaint small town, turned out to be a big city. And the hotel I had booked for myself was an hour walk from the cathedral and the hotels where my friends were staying. So that meant learning that system of buses and cabs and somewhat by foot and so on and so forth. I had booked my non-refundable hotel for 4 nights and liked the hotel very much, but it was sure inconvenient. Well, it turned out that someone who was supposed to come for this big celebration that Carol and Steve had planned of their completion of the Santiago wasn't unable to come. So there was an Airbnb with a view of the cathedral that was paid for, and would I like to stay there for the last 2 nights? So, okay, I packed up my bags and threw myself on all this stuff, including hiking poles, and oh my gosh, my boots strapped to the outside because I ended up having to wear sneakers. The boots did not work for me. And I go to the address that's in the email about where this Airbnb is, this person's staying, and they had no awareness at all. No reservation for this guy, no nothing. They were mad that I hadn't woken them up to, go to their Airbnb. Anyway, long story short, I didn't know at first that they had no reservation. They just said, go away and come back at 1 o'clock and we'll give you a key. So I was able to drop my stuff in their living room, and they put my hiking poles in their umbrella rack, and I went to the cathedral for this massive worship service, which was an annual thing. We arrived on July 25th, which is a festival day in this city. Actually, I think in all Spain, but for sure in that city. I went back at 1 o'clock, and that's when I discovered, this other person was not expected, and I'm surely not expected. And in an hour, I need to be back here in Center City at my friend's hotel for this big festival that she had created. There, this great big celebration. So what to do? Okay, get another cab at the festival price, double the regular day fare. Have the guy wait for me at my old hotel, get rechecked in, back in, jump back in the cab and get back there, which all thankfully did happen in an hour. But that was kind of this, the Camino is full of the unexpected, and you just have to kind of go with the flow and figure it out and be in the present moment. There were other times when I got in a bus trying to get back from Center City to my hotel on the edge of town, and I got in where the hotel people had said I should get in. But this bus went all over creation, and I knew a 15-minute ride was now 30 minutes, and I was nowhere near where I thought my hotel might be. So I was talking to the guy and showing him my hotel map, but somehow he couldn't figure that one out either. He said, what's the name of your hotel? I couldn't remember the name of my hotel. What's the hotel address? I didn't have it with me. So between the two of us, I finally remembered a museum that was nearby. He recognized the name. I couldn't speak Spanish, he couldn't speak English, but an hour later, I was back at my hotel. Communicating was a challenge. I had only gotten through the first few lessons of a Spanish course I purchased online before I got in the airplane, and my college Spanish was decades ago, very dusty, so pantomime was required and goodwill. The first night I went to a restaurant and I ordered a chocolate churrillo, which I thought sounded like the pastry I had heard about, and the waiter was pretty confused, but he came back hopefully with a hot chocolate for me. So that was pretty good, not what I was planning on, but pretty good. Then the last day in Madrid, I went into a bar across from our hotel to do some journaling, and I asked for a small beer. Me gusta una beer, una baña. And the woman looked very perplexed. And I repeated it confidently. I had small beers a number of times on the trip. I thought I knew what I was saying. She takes me and walks me to the back of the bar and opens the door to the restroom. And I just burst into laughter because the word for restroom is baña and the word for small beer is caña. So I never quite got the whole thing down. Most of the time these kinds of things caused not panic but a sense of, oh wow, now what? What do I do here? There were some glitches, like the scripture lesson said, where something happened because I wasn't paying enough attention to the itinerary or where I was. And other things just happened because they just happened. But the sorting out of it did require paying attention, slowing down, and really opening to presence, God's presence within me and kind of wisdom and the help of other people around. I was, at one point when my calves were really sore and my breath was very short because my friends were in better shape than I was trying to keep up. I asked Carol, so you said this has been a life-changing experience for you, walking the Camino. Very aware that for me this was not a life-changing experience in the way I was kind of imagining it might be. In that moment feeling pain, and gosh, this is like endless, this hiking up and down and over cobblestone and sidewalks and paths and through woods and here, there, around and around. And she said that actually, for her, it was learning to live in the moment. That just being aware of kind of the small things every day on the Camino was something she tried to translate back into her life here in the States, and that had been life-changing for her. Now, I have to admit, I was hoping for something with a little more spiritual pizzazz than that, some mystical moment or God thing that just had God's signature on it, rather than what I really actually went for, which was just what she was saying, that awareness of the present moment and kind of opening to God in that. But that is something I continue to think about kind of every day now that I'm back home. The second lesson of the Camino has to do with traveling companions. We sang the hymn in Christ There Is No East or West. There were pilgrims, peregrinos from all over. We hiked with a fellow who had spent 5 years at the Vatican during the time that this Pope came into being there as the Pope. And boy, did he have some wonderful stories to tell. It was really so interesting to learn a great deal about Catholicism from him. And we stayed in the same hostels every night, ate meals with him. But there were some others. There were a couple of young women in their late 20s from the United States who were walking before they started their careers back here. They had jobs waiting for them. We walked with them quite a bit, had meals with them. There's a woman from Australia who was by herself on the path, and we spent time with her. One night I made dinner reservations for us somewhere for 5, and by the time dinner came, there were 11 of us. And that was just how it was on the Camino. People were always high-fiving, oh, how are you? I hadn't seen you in a couple of days, when they'd run into each other at a cafe. How's your Camino going? All of that. I asked a a woman that I ran into at the airport from Canada on the way back, what did you learn from the Camino? And it's kind of a personal question, but it is something you can ask somebody who's just been doing this. And she said that there's help. She said every time I was lonely, because she traveled by herself actually for several months beginning in France, every time I was lonely or I needed something, someone showed up. Someone was there when I got what I needed. One of the things that I really loved about it was that there's a greeting that people would give as they passed you or you passed them as you were walking. And the words were, buen camino, meaning, may this be a good experience for you. Your Camino experience may it be good. And some people would sing it out, buen camino, and others kind of, buen camino. But I just love that wishing each other well. And that's something I carry with me also, more intentionally, to just be thinking, buen camino, as I see people in the course of the day, or drivers next to me, or people who look like they need a little blessing. There was a lot of sharing. I had a gold makeup bag filled with candy that I'm sure I ate more than anyone else, but sometimes a Jolly Rancher is just the thing to keep you going. So that was shared often. The last observation I will make that really stays with me is about theology. The first day in Madrid, I went to a museum called the Prado that has amazing art from, at least the pieces I saw. I focused on the Middle Ages, 12th century, 13th, 14th, 15th. And the themes in that art were all about heaven, hell, demons, purgatory. Very, very dark. And a sense that people were really scared about God and what was going to happen to them. The pilgrimage originally was based on the idea that there are certain places that have a special link to the divine, and that physical contact, being there, maybe touching a relic or a statue, somehow brings spiritual blessing to the pilgrim. Many of the original pilgrims over those early centuries in the Middle Ages would bring prayers and offerings to Santiago de Compostela, to that big cathedral, for themselves or for their friends, to receive pardons and indulgences so that they would be less worried about going to hell or spending fewer days in purgatory. I could feel great sympathy as I walked along for people who would have walked those paths with that in their minds. And there were buildings and churches and farms that were dating back to, 1100 along the way, and really just kind of made that real, that people had been doing this path, living there, holding this theology for all this time. I felt so grateful to be from a different orientation theologically, and to know, yes, we do things that are wrong because we're caught up in our own egos and focused on ourselves, and that is not our true self. But God is in us. God is not out there, someone we have to beg for forgiveness or do a long journey to get pardoned. We're pardoned. God knows us from the inside out. And those sins are something that grieve God because they cost us love. They cost us love. They cost other people love. But God does not see us through that lens, which was the way that people thought God saw them in the Middle Ages. That is not God's lens for us. God sees us through the eyes of God's love. And in us, God lives. So God sees God in us as well. And I just am forever, eternally grateful for that. So I'm going to close with a card that the wording from a card I sent to Carol earlier this week that says this: I think it's true what they say, life really is a journey, and it's not always easy to know which maps to trust or what to pack for the trip. But whatever the weather, wherever the road leads, I think the best possible traveling advice would be this: bring a friend. So UCC friends and others who may be visiting who we hope will be friends, when can we know?